All right, everybody, welcome back. We got more work to do. Um, so something I should have included with the last video actually is player invincibility. So some like invincibility frames when the player gets hit. We're gonna start off with setting that up first. So with our character here, first thing we're gonna do, because we're using a struct, we are going to do blueprint struct. We'll open up our character data struct. And we will add a new variable that we will call is invincible. Okay, and that's going to be a boolean. All right, we can close that. Okay, so now part of what we're going to do with the setting of invincibility is first we're going to have to set up some kind of visual cue that the player knows that their character is currently inside of invincibility frames. Historically, that's done with just flashing the character or the sprite on the screen. So we're going to go to our character base, adventure character base, and we're going to create a new function which will toggle our sprite visibility. So we'll go to function, plus sign, and we will call this set sprite visibility. A lot of I's in visibility. VISIVILI. Set sprite visibility. Okay. Now with the set sprite visibility in our character base, let's just that. Go ahead, I'm just going to dock this up. Okay. Set sprite visibility. So now inside the function, we'll get a reference to our sprite. So we will access the visibility of the sprite. So get visible. Oops. Set visibility. Not get right. Plug that in here. So all right. We'll get another reference to sprite. And what we will do here is now we'll get the visibility visible, get visible. And what we do here is we're just going to add a not boolean. And we will plug that into the new visibility. And by doing that, we're basically guaranteeing that it's going to trigger the opposite. Visible, it will trigger. If it's not visible, it will turn it off, on and off, on and off, like a toggle, causing our character to flash. Okay, so we're going to go into our components and open up our BPC health. And inside of our functions, we are going to create a function called can be damaged. Okay, we're going to set this function to pure. Add a return node. Right. And on the return node, we're going to add an output, which will say can be damaged. Be a boolean. Okay, we'll grab our character data. Right, get our character data. break. Inside of here, we now have the is invincible. So first, can they be damaged when they're dead? No, of course not. So we'll grab is alive, do an and boolean, and they may be damaged when they're invincible. Sorry. No, so we're going to need that not. They are not invincible. Can be damaged. Okay. Now we can use this function inside of our character for the damage icon runs. Sorry, for the damage logic runs. So here we've got the decreasing of health and the any damage. Right, so we can call this function here before we get too lost. Okay, we don't need this anymore. And so we got target, which is good. That should stay like that. Let's just make this a little bit wider. I'm going to pull these guys over. Okay, good. Now off of here, we got that function that we just made that can be damaged. We can call. And quite simply, obviously, we're just going to branch. If it can be damaged is true, well then do some damage. Okay. All right. So we've determined when the player can be invincible. Now let's set invincibility. So we're going to have to go back to our health component. Hit the compile and save. We go back to our health component. We're going to go into our event graph. Right, so we've got the event begin play here. We're going to add a custom event that we will call set invincibility. Set in capital invincibility. So many letter I's in that one. All right. Then we will get our character data. We need to check the current state, change it. So from here, we will set members of the character data. Go ahead and here. Okay, so with the character data, we can expose the is invincible. We can set it to true. And then from here, we will set that character data. This may be overkill. I haven't actually looked into it. Adding this set character data like this. But there it is. I know this much. It can't do any harm and it will work. Right? So we've set invincibility true. We've saved that. And now we're going to do the retriggerable delay. And then we will promote this to a variable that we will call invincibility duration. Just double checking the spelling. Or misplaced. Okay. So invincibility duration. That and then we can pretty much just grab these 3 nodes here, duplicate them, plug that in, and just set invincibility false. Okay. Now we're going to do something that we haven't done yet. Project, and it's going to be creating a dispatcher. Okay. So after invincibility false, we are going to create an event dispatcher. Right down here at the very bottom of the list where everything else is, we're going to do event dispatcher. This one's going to be called Invincibility fired. All right. Now, an event dispatcher is pretty cool because basically it's like sending up a smoke signal or posting a tweet. Like it screams out what it did, and anybody out there who's listening can listen. And if here's the call, then it can trigger that way. So if we pull in this event dispatcher, we got a bunch of options here. Mostly we use call and bind. Okay, so we're going to call. We'll plug that into there. Okay, we'll compile and save. Now we'll go to our hero. The hero. And then we got to find the handle hit extend. So if we look for the event handle hit extend, we can just double click that and we'll see it right here. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to add the start. So at the very start of the handle hit extend, before hit stop, animation, logic, and stun logic, hit stop, there's the animation. Stun. Anyways, we are going to set the invincibility. We can just call our pull this out this way. We're going to grab this out like this. Okay, so we just need to get our BPC health for reference. If we pull off of here, we can set the invincibility. Plug that where everything else happens. Okay. So this will just be because otherwise invincibility won't happen until after the hit stop and everything happens, and that'll be a little bit too late. We want invincibility early and quickly. Okay. Okay, now that we have all that set up, let's get the sprite flickering. So still here, Okay. Use the path where the player survives the hit. So that would be off of this branch here. This is the jump node that takes us to our death animation. Means this false line will be where the player survives the hit. Okay. And we are going to add a set timer by event. And off of here, we're going to create an event. And the event will be the set sprite visibility. Where it says looping, we're going to click that to true. And the time interval, we open this up, we'll see the initial start delay and the initial start delay and the initial start variance. Actually, it's right here, time. That's what we want to do. So let's just create a variable. Let's promote that to a variable. We'll call this sprite flicker interval. We'll compile and save, and let's set that to like 0.1. Okay, so in case I went too fast, compile, made that variable available for me in the details panel for me to change the value of it. Okay, we're going to do the same thing off of this return value. We're going to promote that to a variable that we will call flicker handle. This is going to be important for resetting our sprite to visible, because it's possible that our flicker function would end with our sprite disabled, and we don't want that. So that's going to help us make sure our sprite remains visible. Okay. So now we've had this flicker handle. It doesn't actually do anything yet, but we're going to fix that. First, I'm going to fix the spelling of my flicker handle. Okay. And then we are going to go where the event begin play is for our hero. Up here, we got the event begin play. Okay. Now we're going to be adding a bunch of functions to this begin play here in a little bit. So let's go ahead and start cleaning this up. We could very easily just going to relabel this to begin play. But we could very easily just continue to keep making just this massive line of blueprints off of here if we so wanted to. But that would get really, really long and tedious. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to pull this over here. We're going to look for a sequence. The sequence is just a to-do list, essentially. It's in order all the things we need it to accomplish during this thing's event begin play being triggered. So first one will be getting the player controller. Perfect. And then the next one, we are going to get our health reference. And then with our health reference there, we can bind an event. Event to invincibility expired. Now, this is a reference to our, I'm sorry, the dispatcher that we did over on our health component, right? Now we can trigger this. Oops, I don't know why I did that. That was weird because I just told you guys we were using a sequence. All right, so yeah, we got that. So this is a reference to our dispatch that we made. Now we want to make a reference to our on invincibility expired event. Right, we create a custom event, sorry. Custom event that we will call on invincibility. Fired. All right. Now we're going to grab the flicker handle. We're going to get a flicker handle. Off of here, we're going to clear and invalidate timer by handle. Plug in this. All right. And then, of course, as I mentioned, now we are going to get our sprite. Okay. And we are going to set the visibility of the sprite. Set the visibility of the sprite. True. Just like that. Okay. That's going to make extra sure that when our flickering event ends, that our sprite remains visible in case it ended when the sprite wasn't. Okay. So now there'll be a small little glitch here that will take place as well, where when the player is currently being overlapped, so the invincibility triggers on overlap, but if the player remains overlapped, they don't get hurt. They can't be hit. So as long as an enemy is on top of them, when the invincibility frames end, we want the player to be able to be hit again. But there will be no overlap event if the colliders are already overlapping, which means we are going to reset our hurt box collision. So we're going to grab our hurt box, and from our hurt box, we are going to set collision enabled. And under new type, we're just going to do query only physics collisions. No physics collisions. Okay? So this will help reset the hurt box so that as long as the two colliders are overlapping, there will be a reset at when invincibility ends. Okay? So now the last little thing we can do here is we can go back to our adventure base, and in our adventure base we've got potentially some visual collisions being shown, so we can just double check hidden in game is checked for all of our colliders, for which I know on the hero, for example, the sword's hitbox is still visible. We can hide this in game hidden, check true. Okay. So now as a test, if we hit play, here comes the turkey. We'll hit the turkey hits us. We become invincible. Need a flicker. Right. It would appear I've missed the expiration. All right, guys. I've solved the little issue with the invincibility not ending. I did not set my invincibility duration properly. I set it to 0.2, or I left it default at 0.2. That's way too short for the invincibility to catch an end, so we have to put it to 2 seconds. You can adjust this invincibility frames length to whatever feels good. Now, just to show you, now when I get hit, I'm invincible, and then 2 seconds later, my character is respawned. Right. Okay. So there we have it. Player invincibility. Stick around because the next one we are going to set up our UI for the first time.